So my grandmother, her name was Wilter May. They called her Bill. She was my dad's mother. My grandfather died a decade ago, actually, or died in 2011. My grandmother was the last of my grandparents, and so it was very hard. She lived with my mom and dad for the last 7 years, and she had this very forthright way of talking about the world. She does not like Donald Trump, and she was very angry with Brian Kemp. And so she told me the story the last time I saw her after Christmas. She talked to me before my election about the fact that she almost didn't vote the first time she was allowed to in 1968 because the other times she tried to register and tried to vote, they sicked dogs on her. They fired her, they sprayed her with fire hoses. And by the time the right to vote became real in Mississippi, she was just terrified. And so she had decided not to vote. My grandfather took her to task and said, your sons, your daughters went to jail for this. Your children have fought for this right that they are too young to enjoy. You owe this to them. And I remember her holding my hand saying, she was so ashamed of herself for being afraid to vote. But she was so grateful that she had a granddaughter who had a chance to actually possibly become the first black woman to be a governor in the history of the United States. And being from the South, she understood how important governors are, that it was the governors of the southern states that created and implemented and maintained Jim Crow. It was the governors who authorized the treatment of black people as less than human. And she wanted to see that happen, and when it didn't, she was madder than I was. And so, right before she passed away, she just told me she was going to be watching me and that she wanted me to make sure I didn't stop and didn't stop fighting.